So round 2 is where there's a couple misplays I make over the course of round 2, which I'm gonna highlight for you, so you can learn from my mistakes. This is my opening keeper, which I think is a keeper very much. Turn 1 Elvish Mystic. I can get a Accursed Spirit or Liliana down on turn 3. I'm pretty sure I go for the Accursed Spirit since, no need to get Liliana down that quickly. And there's a nice giant spider as well. Nothing to do but swing in with the Mystic. My opponent plays his 3rd island, so I'm like, all right, well, we'll play out the Spirit. And I play the Spirit here, I believe, because I'm like, well, he's clearly got like a cancel or something, but nope. And then another island and divination and a sensory deprivation on my Accursed Spirit, which becomes very relevant later on. But that's okay, because I'm happy to just follow up with a Sengir Vampire. And he traumatizes me. So you can get a better idea of what's actually in my deck here, because he's just taken 14 cards off the top. Brindlebore, which I'm running but I'm not proud of. Primeval Bounty, of course, is the card I mentioned that's totally bonkers. Mana Weft Sliver, Giant Growth. It's over here so you can see the big version. Ranger's Guile, Rumbling Baloth, very good. Trollhide, and another Ranger's Guile, and then a bunch of land. So actually, not the worst mill as things go. But of course now I only have 14 cards in the deck, and I'm a little concerned that he's got like a Jace or a bunch of Tome Scours or something in there to follow up with. Beat him with the Sengir Vampire. Throw down the Giant Spider and the Voracious Worm just as a bear. My opponent says Bounty is good. Commenting on seeing it in my graveyard there. So now I decide to drop Liliana and go and grab another Swamp. Oh yes, here's the rest of my deck, which I guess you could have seen in the previous round. I have a Liturgy of Blood. I'm main decking a Naturalize because it comes up fairly often in M14. Root Walla, Spore Mound, Vampire Warlord, Undead Minotaur, Deadly Recluse, and Garruk's Horde. So grab another Swamp and swing in with a bunch of guys. He blocks one with the Seacoast Drake, goes to 9. Then I play an Advocate of the Beast. The opponent plays a Wall of Frost, which is a little annoying, but not the worst, because again I do have a Sengir Vampire, and I just attack with everything. And I don't really care that he's going to tap down the Giant Spider. He spends an awful long time deciding what to block with the Seacoast Drake, eventually killing the Elvish Mystic. I don't really care because I have a lot of mana, and take him to 1. And so that turn there, that's where I misplayed. Because actually, I had him dead on board there. And it's because of the oft-forgotten second ability, in fact, first part of second ability of Liliana of the Dark Realms. Typically, you know that she goes looking for a swamp. You know that her ultimate is rarely going to be relevant and limited. And you know that she also has some way to remove things. Their second ability, -3, target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of swamps you control, in this case 4. But it's +X or -X. You can do both. And if, on that previous turn, I had given +X, in this case 4, +4, to my Accursed Spirit, thereby making it a 4/6 with Intimidate that he could not block, he would have been dead. So I just completely threw away an easy win there because I didn't pay attention. I didn't read that this card has a very relevant ability that, usually you will use for removal, but, the pluses can make a big difference. So I should have already won this game by now. And then my opponent plays an Elixir and a Water Servant, thereby making this a considerably more of an uphill grind. Luckily, the Sengir Vampire can attack. He's forced to block with... he wasn't forced to block with the Seacoast Drake, but he decided he didn't want to let it through. Cracked his Elixir there. Immediately drew the Elixir again, replayed it. So now he's on Virtual 11. Plays the Archaeomancer for no value, which is a little interesting. And then I am finally able to do what I did before, give +5/+5 to my Accursed Spirit. He cannot block that. And 5 on the Sengir Vampire, which he also cannot block because he has nothing in the air. So assuming he doesn't have Disperse, I'm assuming that because of what he did before, he's leaving these 2 mana up to cycle the Elixir. So it's 10 damage from these guys, and then I've got 4 other attackers, and he only has 3 blockers. And I'm assuming that I can get through, which indeed is the case. But I should have done that turns earlier. So, pay attention to your planeswalkers. On to game 2. So I realized that my opponent is... I'm on the top again now. I realized my opponent is mono blue. And I'm expecting him to have, opportunity and stuff like that. But I didn't see much of what his actual win condition was in the first game. Just hoping to sort of turtle up, behind walls of frosts and things like that, and the elixir. But now I'm in a position where I have a Root Walla, I have a Brindlebore. They're not amazing, but I've got double Ranger's Guile to protect all my stuff. I've got a Voracious Worm, Vampire Warlord, and the All-Star of the Evening, the Primeval Bounty, which I'm hoping to get down, as soon as possible. So there's another misplay coming up, which I don't think ends up affecting the outcome of the game, but it certainly would have made things go faster. Let's put it that way. So Water Servant, I'm happy to just let him pump it and bring it on in. He only does it for 4, and then he casts Sensory Deprivation on my Accursed Spirit yet again. So my plan here is I'm attacking with the Brindlebore and the Root Walla. And he flashes in and Nephalia Seakite. Now, I have a couple options here. I can Ranger's Guile on the Brindlebore to kill the Seakite, but then I'm trading a Ranger's Guile, which is, I think, a much better card just for a Seakite. Whereas my actual plan here is just to sack the Brindlebore for 4 and play out the Voracious Worm as a 6/6 and keep Ranger's Guile up to protect the Voracious Worm. Which is what I do. I sacrifice it, and I'm like, that's fine. And I play the Voracious Worm, and it's a 6/6. I'm like, all right, I got a 6/6. What are you going to do now? Because I can attack with this, and if I have to, Ranger's Guile offensively to kill the Wall of Frost just to get that out of my way. My opponent goes, all right, Claustrophobia on your Voracious Worm, and without thinking, I just F2 and go, yeah, all right. And then I'm like, no, wait, no, that's not, no, I left, look, I land and I didn't play my 4-drop because I was playing my 2 and leaving to protect from, so I was kicking myself for that. So, I think in this game a 6/6 would have been pretty relevant, especially since I'm not drawing land, so I can't cast my Warlord or my Primeval Bounty. So I just chump with my Accursed Spirit against Water Servant. I don't feel like taking much more damage. Play out Advocate. This is good because it lets me leave up Ranger's Guile for protection, which I use here because he wants to sensory deprive my Giant Spider so he can start bashing it with the Seakite, and I don't want to let that happen. And then he just goes and passes the turn, doesn't press the issue with the Water Servant despite having all this mana up. Once again, draw another 3-drop, which is fine because I can play it and keep up Ranger's Guile, which I still have. Once again, no land, but I get a Deadly Recluse. So I'm building out my board, and I have protection for it, even though nothing's really happening, and we're just sort of passing back and forth. Once again, a Mana Weft Sliver, so that's good at least. That gives me one more land and lets me play the Warlord next turn. Or if I draw a land next turn, then I also get to play out the Primeval Bounty. So I'm feeling a little bit better, especially since my opponent is not doing anything. So there's the land, and I just windmill that Primeval Bounty down, because it's only going to get better the longer it's in play. Once again, my opponent does nothing, passes the turn back, land, gain 3 life. And then, creature. No. Sorry, Liliana. Liliana, as a non-creature spell, does my favorite mode of Primeval Bounty. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3 +1/+1 counters on creature you control. So I play Liliana, and I put 3 +1/+1 counters on my Root Walla, who's now just naturally a 5/5, but who I can buff up to a 7/7, thereby hopefully getting past the Wall of Frost. I go looking for that. So I swing in, expecting him to attack with the Wall of Frost, except he's got a Water Servant and basically infinite mana, so all he does is just make his Water Servant a -1/8 and blocks the Root Walla, and I'm like, well, I can't do anything about that now, but I've got plans in the future. He ships it back, I play another land, I gain more life, I'm up on 21 now, and I cast a Vampire Warlord, and I get a Beast. Now, he does Essence Scatter the Warlord, but I got value, I get this Beast anyway, and I'm about to realize, of course, I have an Advocate of the Beast, so end of turn, this guy gets a +1/+1 counter on him, which I wasn't expecting. Liliana goes looking for another swamp. End of turn. There's a counter on the beast. My opponent plays another land, ships the turn back. I play a land, gain 3 life. So now I'm like, all right, let's see what we can attack with here. So what I do is I attack with the beast. My opponent says, he's never drawing spells. So I'm like, all right, let's attack. Maybe that's a bluff, who knows. So I attack with the beast, and this guy, because he's got death touch, and if he wants to block with any of these creatures, I'm like, fine. And the root walla, because I can make him nice and big. So my opponent flashes in a second Nephalia Sea Kite, and decides to double block my beast with the Sea Kite, and block the root walla with the Water Serpent. So what I'm able to do is I first buff my root walla, which causes him to, this is an entertaining stack, causes him to do the Water Servant, and then he does the Water Servant again, and then he does the Water Servant again, and again. So now I Ranger's Guile. So the Water Servant is now a -1/8. So now I Ranger's Guile on the root walla to make it an 8/8, and I get to put 3 +1/+1 counters on whatever I want. So I put 3 +1/+1 counters on this beast, which will make the beast a 7/7, which will eat both the Sea Kites, which will live. So what my opponent does, of course, is he disperses. Oh, he does not disperse. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a later turn. So that all works, and he doesn't. He could buff the Water Servant again to a -2/9, but he just really wants to leave this 2 mana up to cycle his elixir. Then the beast thing happens, and he doesn't cycle the elixir. So he puts Sensory Deprivation on the beast, which is still a 5/8. So the plan here is basically to do what I did last turn, attack with a whole bunch of stuff. I've got Giant Growth in hand to give one creature +3/+3 temporarily, which will then trigger the Primeval Bounty to give another creature +3/+3 permanently. But what I made the mistake of doing there was I tutored for the swamp pre-combat. I think I did this a turn ago, actually, is the turn I'm thinking of. I tutored for the swamp pre-combat, and what I meant to do was wait till afterwards so I could possibly use her minus ability, and I think actually that's what I did. Oh no, sorry, that's how I killed the Water Servant. Pardon me. I did these games yesterday. The turn prior to killing the Water Servant, I had tutored for a swamp pre-combat, and then realized that was the bad play. So the turn where I killed the Water Servant, what I did was I just did a bunch of damage to it, and then post-combat used Liliana to give it a bunch more minuses just to kill that thing and get it out of the way. So, sorry for the confusion. That's what happened. So I just all-out attack because he's only got a Wall of Frost, and I just want to crush through here. So he does some humming and hawing, eventually decides to block the beast with the Wall of Frost, which is a 5/8 and can't kill it. So I Giant Growth the beast, putting +1/+1 counters on the Deadly Recluse, figuring giant death touch creature can't be that bad. And this is when he disperses the beast, so that's fine. But my Recluse still gets huge, a whole bunch of damage gets through, and he goes to 1. And then I just attack with everything else, and I'm just like, well, what do you have? And he had his elixir, and I still took him to -5. So, there's round 2. The finals are coming up in the next video.